Hello, welcome to Calculus. This is probably your first instructional video you would have watched in this year's calculus course, and oddly it's entitled an Algebra review, but I know the real truth is in the beginning of calculus people are generally a little intimidated by the algebra knowledge that they theoretically have trapped somewhere in their brain. So I've developed one example here that I think is going to hit most of the skills that you're going to need to feel comfortable with, and it'll be awkward maybe in the beginning, and then you'll say, oh, yep, I remember all of this. So here's a basic scenario. We have a line A that's just traveling along, minding its own business, and then line B is going to hit it, and it's going to be perpendicular. Every once in a while in calculus, and especially in physics, you'll use the word normal to represent perpendicular, so keep that in mind. And if we were to do this example, well, let me finish this out. It intersects at an x coordinate of 2, so we know this is 2 comma, they didn't tell us the y value. And we want to find the x-intercept of line B. So that's what we're looking for. Well, I know that this example is probably simple enough that if we had some good grid paper or you were just good at counting down slopes, you could arrive at the final answer. But what I would like to do is get this done without, or by using your algebra skills. And by the way, I'm going to overlay this for a moment. These are the items that you will be encountering as we go through this. These are all things you know from algebra. If you need to pause this to digest these items, go ahead, but I'll probably bring this back at the end of the video just to show you where we've used these things. All right, here we go. So the first thing I want to do is I want to get an equation of a line for line A. And I have two options. I'm going to start off with this option, your good old point slope form. Since we have a y-intercept, we know the y-intercept is 4. I do need to figure out the slope of line A though, so let's do that. Slope is y minus y over x minus x, which is negative 3, 6. So we have a slope of negative 1/2 for line A. So now I can get the equation of line A by simply saying because we had the y-intercept of 4 and the slope of negative 1/2, ta-da, we have it. But this is a very valuable form of the lines in calculus, but you probably don't like to use this one, but I'm going to go ahead and use it anyway. For this one, point slope form, you need any point on the line. So I'm going to choose 0.61. And you need the slope, which is negative 1/2. We figured that out already. And now what I will do is I will just plug into this form. Either of these forms are totally acceptable. And I know your brain wants that form, but believe me, you're going to want to use that form quite a bit during calculus. All right, well, keep in mind, we're eventually trying to find the x-intercept. We're not there yet. So we know that these two lines intersect at an x value of 2, and we don't know the y value. Of course, I know you could figure it out just by counting slope, but let's pretend you couldn't do it and the problem was more complicated. We're now going to move on to finding that y value. So I'm going to opt to use this equation of the line, and I want a y value, and I know the x value is 2. X value is 2. What's the y value? Plug in an x equals 2, spit out a y value. So now I get a little mental math here, y equals 3. So now I know the intersection point is 2, 3. All right. Our goal is to start doing some stuff with line B. We now have a point, but we don't necessarily have a slope. However, the thing you learned in algebra and geometry and algebra 2 is when lines are perpendicular, their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So now as I go to line B, move this up here. I know two things. I know we have the point 2 comma 3, and I know we have the slope that is the opposite reciprocal to that. So if that's a negative 1/2, I know my slope is positive 2 over 1, which of course we would just call 2. Well, now we're in line B, and as I think about these two forms of the equation, this one requires that I have a y-intercept, but I don't have a y-intercept, so I'm going to opt for this one. And the habit I like to do is always write that out first, so I can just right beneath it fill in the information. This is now the equation for line B, and technically I'm done getting the equation, but since I have more work to do, I'm going to put this in a more user-friendly form. Distributed that out. Move the negative 3 over. And this is telling me that line B is y equals 2x minus 1, which makes sense with our sketch. My y-intercept is about negative 1, and the slope is, looks like a good solid positive 2 slope. So now I have the equation of line B, but remember the request is find the x-intercept of line B. So the last little algebra reminder you're going to have is this. Every x-intercept in the entire world has a y value of 0. So I simply plug in a 0, and I solve for x. So, oopsie, sorry. So I know the x-intercept is 1/2, or if you wanted to write it this way, 1/2 comma 0. And that's pretty much what it looks like on our sketch. So our sketch and our algebra seem to agree with each other. And what I was trying to do on this little intro video is just get you used or familiar or re-comfortable with these algebra concepts. And believe it or not, you will be doing quite a bit of just simple Algebra 1 work with lines as you go through the complicated world of calculus. I hope you're feeling a little bit more comfortable with your algebra skills. See ya!